whenever you get one of those things where guys get together over a beer or something, and they say, right, you can have 5 cars.
Yeah.
You know, only 5. No cost, no
Don't
options,
start
bloody
this.
blah. Yeah, but you'd get 100 people. I think you'd probably get 70 of them would put an RS Carrera on the list.
Yeah.
You know.
But then none of them have driven it.
Yeah, but
And
that's,
the reason they're doing
that's
it.
exactly right. None of them have driven it, right?
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with that people poo-poo all the time. People love to poo-poo
Yeah.
things and say they're no good, and then when you examine,
but the reason that they pick it is because it's basically been in every publication there is. It's a reference car. It's an icon. It broke a few of the rules. They sold a car that had less equipment than an S.
Yeah.
And that was a big thing in that time. Everyone wanted more. You know, oh, you're going to pay that for the car? Oh, well, it has to have more. It has to have this.
You have to think about it through the eyes of the people that were looking at those cars in the early 70s and watching them win races as well, because the shape of a 911 was already a decade old. Everybody knows that 911s had been on circuits for a long time before that car came out, but that's the iconic racing version of the car, and it came a decade after the car.
Yeah.
You look at Alfa Romeo and the GTA, well, the first GTAs were built in 64 and the first road cars were built in early 63.
Yeah.
So it all happened at the same time, like it normally does. But for Porsche, here's this legend comes along a decade after the model comes out. The perplexing thing is that that car is worth multiples of the nearest thing that's next to it.
Yeah.
And that's the bit where you sort of go, well, you know, don't get me wrong.
Okay, well, what other cars are there that are a reference point for a car's history or a manufacturer's history, like this car is? I mean, it's referred to in just about any publication there is.
You're not wrong about that. It's the same, you know, you think about, it's one of those cars that's been dudded to the nth degree. Every man and their dog have had a 911 and cloned an RS Carrera.
But it's not the same.
And that's not the same, but it's the same thing as, you know, AC Cobra replicas, which are typically 9/10 rubbish because they're just done to look like the thing.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, you can jump in so many 911s and go quick in them or drive to work in them and you're still ticking the box.
I think it's the mystique of how they came about and the fact that they were specifically designed for a purpose. Their customers jumped on board because they wanted to be a part of something special.
Well, they're good. It's very simple. They're very good. And they don't come with quirks that make them impossible to use if you're not a complete car nut, you know.
Yeah.
Like a normal bread and butter Ferrari road car can be bewildering, let alone something that was designed to go racing. That will be really bewildering.
Yeah.
It'll try and set you on fire and roast you to pieces, and you know, you have to think about everything that you do. Whereas with any 911 of its ilk, you just get in, start it, and drive
I think people like the idea that they thought they were pretty good drivers and they jumped in this thing and they're like, well, maybe I am a pretty good driver because it did everything really well. There's cars out there that go fast as this, they stop as well as this, they steer as well as this, but the person can't necessarily drive it as well as this because it's a different car. You know, all of these things come together in this car that make it really good.
The value of the car, of the cars which are, yes, they are stratospheric, $1 million.
These are very expensive cars.
It's a very expensive car, and it's a rare car, and it occupies all of those people's minds, and it's a halo car. And when you get in it, you kind of think, you know, far out, man, I'm driving an RS Carrera, this is pretty good. And let me be honest, you can tell your friends about that. It's cool. It's a cool thing. I've driven an RS Carrera.
A real one.
A real one.
Yeah.
And is it great? Yeah, my God, it's fantastic.
What to you makes that car worth over $1 million though?
Well, put it this way, that car is probably worth 3 times, conservatively in the same condition, it's worth 3 times what an equivalent 911S of the same year is worth. Maybe 4 times.
No, 4, 5.
4 times, okay? So is it 4 times as much fun as a 911S? No. It's not 4 times as much fun as a 911S, which is the thing, because all of that stuff that's evocative and goes into the whole iconic thing is what makes them $1 million car.
You've only got an extra 300 cc's. Really.
Yeah, that's right.
At the end of the day, when you compare the two cars, that's a touring spec, which is basically a 911S spec. So the difference between that and a 911S is that it's got a few lightweight panels, but it's got wings, wider rear tyres, and 300 cc's more. If you want to break it down to just the nitty-gritties, that's the difference. So why is that car worth 4 times more than an S?
Because of the legend. It's the marketing. It's an intangible.
Yeah.
You know why it's the same
But is it the
reason.
collectability of it now that makes it more than that, or what? You know, what is it?
Collectability has to come from somewhere.
Yeah.
Has to come from something.
Yeah. I think for me, if I was going to buy that car, the collectability of it doesn't factor for me, because I'm more about the engineering, the history, why they did it, all of those things. To me, the value in that car is how it came about, and that's what makes it a legend.